guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my monthly reading wrap-up. I don't remember the last time I did a monthly reading wrap-up because I had 1 month, I think it was March. In March I read a bunch, and then April rolled around and I was so busy and I didn't read at all. And for May I read books, but not a lot. So this video is probably gonna be a little bit shorter than the other ones, but I read 4 books the month of May and I am really excited to talk about them. I found some of my new favorite books ever, so I'm really excited to talk about them. So I'm gonna start in the order that I read them this month. So I'm gonna start with Galen by V.E. Schwab. Okay, you guys, if you've been here since literally the beginning of my TikTok account, you probably know that I did not like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and that is the same author of this book. So I was not really sure if I was gonna like this book, but I was pleasantly surprised. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a few reasons why I didn't like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. The whole story was really intriguing to me. But when I started reading, it was the slowest thing ever. I DNF'd the book because I just cannot get through it. I kept reading and I kept reading, but it was putting me in a reading slump. So I was like, you know what? This book is just not for me. The writing was very good. It was just really slow. That is why when I saw this book in Barnes & Noble, because I bought this book in Barnes & Noble, I was like, should I buy it or not? I was not sure, but it was 20% off, so I bought the book. And first, I love the cover. Honestly, really cool cover. It's a hardcover book, but the whole design and the whole thing, it looks super cool. And when you finish the book, you kind of realize the meaning of the entire cover. I picked this book up and I read a little bit of the synopsis in Barnes & Noble, and I was like, okay, it looks really interesting, and I wanted to read a fantasy book. So when I started reading, I liked the first few pages. I think I read 50 pages in one day, and I was like, okay, it's cool, I'm not bored, so that is good. And then the next day, I read this book in 3 days. The next day I read until page 120-ish, and I stopped reading. And then after that, 3rd day, I sat down to read and I finished the book. The story was really good. It was really intriguing, really good. I loved the story and the plot. Overall, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. But the reason I gave it 4 stars and not a little bit higher, because 4 stars for me is a bit low, is because I was disappointed with the ending. I thought it was gonna end a different way, and I just felt the ending was worse. So do you know when you get to the last half of the book and there's a lot going on, and they need to solve something or something like that, and there's a problem, you know, there's a problem in the story that they need to solve or something. It's just an example. I'm not giving away the book. And at the end of the book, the problem gets kind of solved. In this book, I just felt everything went backwards. The problem got worse, and I just wished the book had a different ending. I was expecting a different ending. So I would say it's not a happy ending, because it's a fantasy book and a lot happens, but not my favorite ending. But the story was really good, so I was a little bit disappointed. That is my rant, but it was a good book. I do recommend it. It's just the ending was not for me, but maybe it's gonna be for you. I don't know. So give it a try. Honestly, it was really interesting, really entertaining. I had a good time reading it, so that's what matters. So yeah, that was the first book I read in the month of May. Okay, so then after reading that book, I wanted to read a rom-com or a romance book. I wanted to get a little bit out of that fantasy mood, and also because Galen was a little bit creepy. a little bit creepy, so I wanted like a rom-com or something like that. So I picked up Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is her new book. It came out, I think, May. This is a rom-com, you know, Emily Henry and her like rom-com books, and I love her covers so much, and I was just so excited for months for this book because like just the title, it's called Book Lovers. Like, are you kidding? And like the sides and the whole design of this cover is so pretty. It's so beautiful. I love it. So definitely 10 out of 10 for the cover. Just want to say, first of all, this is a 5 out of 5 stars. This book was incredible. I was so happy and excited that I liked it, and I loved it because, you guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but I DNF'd Beach Read. Like, I haven't really been a big fan of Emily Henry's books. Not because they're bad, there's just, like, none of the books just clicked for me. So when I got to this one, I was like, please, please, I want to click with this book because, you guys, this book was so good. Okay, so this book is a small town romance. So the main girl of this story is Nora. Nora lives in New York City, in the big city, and she works in publishing. So she works with a lot of authors, and that is also why the book talks a lot about books, because the main character is like she's a literary agent. That is the word. Okay. So right off the bat, we love that. We freaking love that. So Nora has a sister, which is Libby, and they go on a trip to this small town, and that is where the whole story starts. It's a small town romance, and at the beginning of the book, there's kind of like an encounter with the main male character, which I did not know. It doesn't have like a lot of spice. I believe it had a few spicy scenes, but nothing like really detailed, you know? So it was a, I would say 1.5 level of spice, maybe 2 level of spice. So either way, I loved it. So definitely I recommend it so much. Okay, that was the second book that I read in the month of May. And the third book, because I finished this book, romance book, and I was like, okay, now I want a fantasy book again. So I asked you guys on my Instagram story, give me like fantasy book recommendations. Like, and you guys went crazy. I have so many good recommendations, but the one recommendation that stood out from all of the others, like it was repeated so many times, was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. And I looked it up because I knew like Sarah J. Maas has a lot of books, like a lot of series, a lot of books. So I looked it up and I saw that it's a series of like 10 books, something like that. And it's like a really long, 10 books. It's a really long series. So I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm getting into this one. But I bought the Kindle version of the first book, which is Throne of Glass, the first book, and I'm gonna put it right here because since I have it in my Kindle, I don't have like a paperback to hold for you guys. Straight up, let me give you the rating for this book. This was a 5 out of 5 stars, you guys. It's so freaking good, and it's only the first one. Like, I'm really bad at finishing series, but I'm gonna like slowly read these books because there are a bunch of books. But the first one was so interesting. I thought it was the perfect introduction to the entire story. So it was just so freaking interesting. I love the female main character. So the main female character of this entire series is Selena. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly because a lot of these names I don't really know how to pronounce. They're like a bit complicated for me, but I think it's Selena. This entire story is set in a world with different kingdoms. She basically became an assassin at the age of 8 because she was trained by like the biggest assassin ever known, and she was trained since she was a child because her parents died. Well, no, her parents were murdered by one of the kingdoms, one of the kings of one of the kingdoms. So she was basically an orphan, and this assassin took her in and trained her. She became the most well-known assassin, and she was only 8. But when she was 16, I believe it's 16, she gets captured and sent to the like most horrible jail. She spends 1 year in this place trying to survive, and it was, to say the least, horrible. And the son of one of the kings comes to see her and kind of like tells her that he has a deal for her and that she can leave that jail and become the king's assassin, which is like a really high ranked name. She like gets out of the jail, but the entire first book is about her trying to earn this seat in the throne, like the king's assassin, because there are a bunch of other assassins or criminals who are trying to get this place. So the entire first book is about this competition where all these assassins and killers and criminals are fighting and trying to become the king's assassin. It was really interesting, the entire story. I was not like bored at all, and I cannot wait to read the second one. Okay guys, are you ready for the last book? Because I left the best book for last. And honestly a coincidence, because this is the last book I read in the month of May. But this is, drum rolls please, because this is my new favorite book of all time. Yes, yes. This is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This book is so good, you guys. I cannot like explain. Like obviously it could be a 5, but it's not a 5. It's like an infinity. Like I read this book because I had seen like so many amazing reviews, and I was like, okay, it's a summer romance and it looks interesting. That is the only thing that I knew about this book. I started reading and I realized it's a then and now perspective, which I freaking love then and now perspective. Okay, so the main girl in this story is Persephone, but they call her Percy. So the then perspective is the story of Persephone, the main girl, and she is 13 years old when she goes with her parents to this small town where they have like a lake, and there are a bunch of like beach houses, and they rent this beach house for the summer. And when she arrives to this beach house, she meets her neighbors, which is a mother and her 2 sons. So the first son is 13 years old, which is Sam, and the older brother, which is 2 years older, so 15 at the time when they all meet, Charlie. So 3 main characters: Persephone the girl, so girl next door, and the boys next door, which are neighbors. Percy and Sam become best friends, like best friends ever. They are the same age at the time, 13 both, and the entire summer they get to know each other, childhood best friends, you know? And that kind of like repeats itself, like since they were 13 every summer to like 18, 17 going to 18. But the now perspective again is Percy at the age of 30 with a job, but she is not friends with Sam anymore. They don't talk. They haven't seen each other since they were 17, 18. So they haven't seen each other for so many years. And she gets a phone call very late at night, and it was Charlie, Sam's brother, called her to tell her that their mother died, and there was gonna be like a funeral, and it would mean a lot to him and to Sam if she was there in the funeral. So she obviously packed her things and like went straight to the small town, to her other home. So just thinking about, I'm gonna cry, just thinking about like when she gets to the small town and like she sees Sam for the first time, like I'm gonna cry. It's so sad. So that is the now perspective, that is the situation, and well, you get the then perspective with the entire backstory to everything and why they broke up. Obviously at the end you know why, but yeah, it's just so amazing. Like I love this book so much. Definitely so worth it, so freaking worth it, you guys. So you guys, those are all the books that I read in the month of May, and if you want more videos, make sure to subscribe down below and turn on the notification bell so you get notified when I upload more videos, and I will see you probably, okay, really exciting, probably Saturday, because I'm doing a bookshelf, updated bookshelf tour / home library tour. So stay tuned. And yeah, I will see you then. Bye.
Oh, corks and bottles ready to pop out. Oh, no more crying. We are knocking out another year of new loves.